Right, let's get you an update now from Ukraine. Speak to journalist Adil Bradlow, who's in the city of Kharkiv. A very good evening to you, Adil. Thank you so much for joining us once more. So, is Kharkiv itself still a major battleground tonight?
Yeah, it most certainly is. Kharkiv is strategically located in the east of Ukraine, and it protects the right flank of Kiev. And it's been from the first day of the invasion, it's been a focus of Russian activity. And at the moment, it seems like the Russians are trying to consolidate their positions around Kharkiv, but are being pushed back by Ukrainian attacks. A couple of times this week, we've been out to the front line, and we've seen the aftermath of battles with dead Russians lying around and destroyed equipment and all sorts of stuff that shows that basically the Russians seem to be, at the moment, in retreat. Which kind of tallies with what's going on around Kiev, too. Apparently, around Kiev and around Chernobyl, the Russians are in basically holding positions, and in the case of Chernobyl, actually withdrawn altogether. The Chernobyl story is really interesting because basically, from what I understand, the Russians dug in around Chernobyl, and in that process of digging in, disturbed the radioactive soil, and a lot of the soldiers have started suffering from radiation sickness. So from what I understand, they've packed up and left, and they've gone back to Belarus from Chernobyl, which is it's close to the Belarusian border. Mm-hmm. So withdrawal outside Chernobyl. In Kiev, they've been pushed back from the outlying towns around Kiev, places like Irpin, for example. And battles are now ongoing in places like Chernihiv, which is also on the northern border with Russia. So in the north, the Russians are suffering setbacks, but from what I understand, in the south, they're pressing ahead and still progressing and advancing. So it's kind of a mixed results for the Russians on the battlefield at the moment.
And the Russians today accused Ukraine of striking a depot in Belgorod. So if that is confirmed, that Ukraine has struck a Russian target on Russian territory, do we expect that will see an intensification of Russia's assault in Ukraine?
It's quite possible. I mean, look, let's face it, the first casualty of war is truth. And the Ukrainians, while initially refusing to confirm or deny that they were involved in that attack, have now denied it. So, who knows who actually did the attack? I mean, I've seen video of the helicopter attack. And I wouldn't put it past the Russians to blow their own stuff up. I mean, Putin did it, for example, in Moscow when he blew up the flats, and used that attack as a prelude, as a reason for the war in Chechnya, the Second Chechen War. So, the Russians are not beyond doing that kind of thing themselves, but that's over a million tons of oil that has just been blown up, and the Russians need that for their offensive. So it would be a kind of cutting your nose to spite your face kind of a move if they did do it. Quite a daring one if the Ukrainians did it. Because an attack on the motherland in Russia is never a good thing, and it provides an excuse for Putin to mobilize the Russian people against the Ukrainians. So who knows? I mean, we'll probably never know who actually did it.
And how reliable, Adil, is the information in circulation in Ukraine, given that there is very clearly an information war, a propaganda war between the two countries as well?
Well, really, it's difficult to sift through a lot of the stuff. There are a lot of journalists on the ground here, a lot of credible journalists, people who know what they're doing. So, I mean, for example, when you see it with your own eyes, you can report it, and you tend to believe it. Like, for example, the aftermath of the battles around Kharkiv that we've seen. It's clear that the Russians did not dig in properly. They were badly led, badly supplied, and are on the retreat. So, I mean, that much seems clear. The situation in Mariupol, for example, much more complicated. I mean, the Russians clearly still haven't taken the city, but they control it. They control access to it. Humanitarian convoys, like, for example, today the ICRC attempted to get a humanitarian convoy, a very small one, a paltry one of a couple of trucks or a couple of vehicles, from what I understand. The trucks weren't allowed to go. They tried to get that into Mariupol, and the Russians didn't allow it. They were trying to get buses in as well to try and get people out. But, so they control that. They control much of the territory between Crimea and Mariupol and into the Donbass. So, they're definitely making ground there. Remains to be seen how this all plays out.
And how much faith is there among the citizens in Kharkiv, for example, in the negotiations which have been happening this week again in Turkey between the Russians and Ukrainians? Do they think that'll actually produce anything, produce an end to the war?
No, I don't think so. I think basically right now the Russians are playing for time, and it's not in the Ukrainians' interest to negotiate right now because, that would mean them giving up territory like the Donbass, having to accept Russian control over Crimea. And these are things that most Ukrainians don't want. They want to fight on, and I think that's what the Russians did not bank on when they began this enterprise.
Adil, always good to speak to you. Adil Bradlow, a journalist based in the city of Kharkiv at the moment in Ukraine, giving us an update on the situation in the country.